competency porn. Competence porn, competency porn. I've heard it both ways, but competency porn just kind of rolls off the tongue, you know, like competency porn versus competence porn. Kind of lame. Let's set some ground rules. Believe it or not, I have not seen every single movie out there. Yeah, I just hate those ones that are like, you don't know what you're talking about because you haven't seen that one Turkish 1930s film. So what I was gonna do was try to list off every single movie that someone could say is competency. But bro, there are just too many movies. You can't expect me to watch every single fucking movie. So I will just be listing 9 movies. And I tried to pick the perfect mix of a really good example of competency porn, and most people have seen it and can go, oh, that's competency porn. Because don't get it twisted, competency porn isn't really a black and white thing. I fucking hate it when people are like, actually, that's not this type of genre, because everything has little aspects of competency porn. Almost every single movie can benefit from having a competent character, but a competency porn movie is like a movie that people watch because it gets your competency porn pussy wet. Also, I want to make this distinction early on. Like, a competent character in the way I'm describing it in this video is not the same as just like a fucking 200 IQ guy in like a Sherlock Holmes movie. I see it like this. You know how Iron Man was trapped in a cave and then had to make a suit with a bunch of scraps? That's competency porn. You're like, ooh, you're just so smart because you can see it and it's in a practical, tangible way. But in the later movie, it's not as impressive even though he solves time travel. It becomes a superpower at some point, which could be interesting for some people, but like the whole Sherlock Holmes, like, oh, I'm just on another level. You just can't compute with me. Not very interesting because I want to be able to see their intelligence on display, not just by whodunit.
Oh my god, I totally forgot about Murder on the Orient Express until editing this. That movie was so fucked up, they really got half of Hollywood just to stab Johnny Depp. What the fuck?
Is having an obstacle and then overcoming it by just being really fucking good at your job. That's really just what competency porn is. You're just really good at what you do. Like, Sherlock Holmes just doesn't make my dick hard. What can I say? The nice thing about talking about competency porn is such a subgenre. I'm pretty sure I'm like the first guy to make a video essay about it. So I'm really trekking new territory here. In my mind, I separate it into 3 different categories, and I'm gonna go through each category and name 3 movies in one of those 3 categories. Let's dive in. First category is survival movies. I chose this because I think it's the most clear examples. I just love survival movies so much, and I never really knew why it made my dick so hard until I realized there's a whole category of competency porn. Yo, it fucking smells in this area. Ooh. First movie, The Martian. The Martian fucks so hard, dude. Oh my god. I would never think, I would be so hyped seeing a guy figure out how to make potatoes with his own shit by making a little biosphere in a Martian base. And what I hate when people criticize this movie is they're like, oh, just show, don't tell. Don't explain the process of how you figured out that a guy's crucifix was the only burnable object in the whole thing because of NASA regulations. It's like, bro, shut up. Like you have All Is Lost, which is a guy who literally says no dialogue. To be honest, I think that movie's kind of mid. It's because it's kind of interesting seeing a guy talk to himself and really figure out an obstacle and overcome it. The next movie is The Quiet Place. Dwight's worst prank yet. Quiet Place is one of those movies that someone had a concept for, and then they really did think about the world building and every single detail of someone who would survive in a society where you can't make noise. The attention to detail that these characters have is competency porn through and through, which is very much appreciated, especially in the horror movie genre, because dumb horror movies are notorious for just having dumbass characters do dumbass things. In my opinion, these characters being smart make the stakes even higher. A common theme in competency porn movies is typically that when someone has to pay attention to seemingly insignificant details just to survive, it makes the threat seem so much more dangerous. I'm usually such a bitch with horror movies, but man, it's just a good ass movie. Smart characters are smart characters. Next movie is Castaway. I remember watching Castaway in middle school, and it took like 3 days, I think, to complete the movie, and everyone was just glued to their seat while watching this, which is hard to do for middle schoolers. FedEx man comes across so many roadblocks that relate to basic human survival, like food, water, shelter, and then has to figure it out. Over time, spending years on this island, he almost perfects the art of survival. I didn't think of very many jokes for this shit, but I do not care. Me at the I don't give a fuck awards. Like, look at his little boat contraption he had to make. However, it's real fucked up that this character was living on an island, I think, for like 4 years, eating nothing but crab and fish. And then once he comes home, all of his friends feed him fish and crab. Like, fuck off. Man, I just really like testing how far I can take this shit. The next category of competency porn movies is the criminal, assassin, special agent, thief movies. I have a confession to make. I do not find these movies that interesting. Specifically like the John Wick and Jason Bourne things. I don't know. When it's like larger than life, it's hard to be like, oh yeah, that was oh yeah, smart, use that gun. I don't know, maybe that's just me. But anyways, let's dive into our first movie in this category. No Country for Old Men. Yeah! You know how I said The Martian was the perfect example for competency porn? Fuck that. No Country for Old Men is literally the movie that made me discover the term competency porn. Seeing the serial killer man do all of his murders in such precise and meticulous ways is just so fascinating to watch. He leaves absolutely no trace behind, and he even does surgery on himself when he's eventually shot. There's a reason why this motherfucker has been doing it for so long, because he treats it like an art. And you could make an argument that this movie is also a survival movie, because the protagonist, I forgot his name. I know it was some girly southern name, but he is almost just as competent. Again, going back to the idea that just because of how smart the protagonist is, just makes the antagonist, the killer, feel like such a bigger threat. There's a damn good reason why people talk about this guy like he's a bedtime story monster. Because as the story goes, nobody has seen this guy and lived. He is not a human. He is a machine and a nocturnal animal.
You going to shoot me?
That depends. Do you see me?
Next movie's John Wick. I feel like I have some sort of responsibility to mention John Wick, even though, hot take, it doesn't really give me that competency porn boner like others do. But on the rewatch, seeing the little things he does, I'm like, hey, you know what? That gives me a little chub. There's this one part where he's hiding behind a wall from another guy, and he shoots the guy in the foot, and it reveals the guy, and he shoots the guy in the foot to reveal. And he shoots the guy in the foot to reveal himself so he can deliver the killing shot. Just over the top things like that. There's this one part where a sniper shoots right next to John Wick to help wake him up to alert him of the intruder. Like, it's just so off the walls and it's cool. The reason why I put all these like criminal movies all in a category is because they all share similar themes of like escaping the government and stuff. And a good example of that is Ocean's 11. Ocean's 11 is another one that I really, really like, but it didn't really give me that competency. Didn't get my pussy wet. But it's very entertaining to see these professionals be really fucking good at their jobs. And when shit goes wrong, they gotta use their skills to figure out the problem. It's larger than life for sure, but all these little details just really make competency porn movies. Like seeing a guy make a little bomb, that's cool. Holy shit. I'm having a fucking field day with how long this cord is. So the next category is kind of reaching pretty far for what competency porn can really be. The reason being, this category is essentially movies about characters that are just masters at their crafts. Again, it's reaching pretty far from the original definition, but when a director or a writer pays attention to the different terminologies and techniques a certain activity or profession takes, it makes the audience respect the movie more. And so to start off, I think a good example is I feel like a fucking kid in the doctor's office. A good movie to start off with is Arrival. Arrival is about an expert linguist who all of a sudden has the most important job of all of human history and has to learn how to communicate with these aliens that have a wildly different type of communication than we do. And it's awesome. It really is interesting, and it shows how much knowledge a linguist has to have. It makes you think, how would these aliens communicate? This movie is so many things. I rewatched it the other day and I cried. What the fuck? I do not do that shit. That is so unlike me. I bottle up my emotions, man. I am cold and unfeeling. That's my fucking thing. So yeah, good expert movie.
Yo, I know I kind of blasted through those last two movies pretty quickly. Don't want anyone to think that I don't care about those two movies. Those are like my favorite movies, so stop thinking that. Especially for Arrival, I wrote down a bunch of notes, but I don't know why I didn't mention them. Like, for example, Arrival reminds me of the numerical system we had to attach to the Voyager in case aliens ever saw it. Because if aliens saw it, it would be totally outside of their worldview, so we had to like break it down, and I don't know. It's just really, it's cool. It's cool.
If you've made it this far in the video, I feel like I deserve an explanation on where the fuck I am. There was this one like pit that I was dead ass going to film in there. I had rope and everything, and I was like ready just to film in there and look like a crazy guy, until I was like, oh geez, oh fuck. I could feel my non-white ancestors screaming at me, what the fuck are you doing right now? The next movie, and I think it's the most obvious of like people appreciating the attention to detail, is Whiplash. As a former ex-person drummer guy, I really do appreciate the attention to detail they had for this movie. This is not about a guy learning how to drum. This is a guy who's already fucking insane at drumming, but then meets a mentally insane, verbally abusive instructor. It's just the little things that make me like weirdly nostalgic for like the music education in America. Making a movie about such like a niche topic is already really hard to do, and they pulled it off really well. Most musicians can really appreciate what Whiplash did. Unless you're Adam Neely. Every single time I think about this video, I want to stick a rod above my eye and swirl it around so I can permanently forget about this fucking video. He says the dumbest shit like, you wouldn't see a muscly jazz drummer, would you? Like, what the fuck? Fuck, man! God!
Hey, you know what? That's my bad. That was a lot. So, why do I bring up the Adam Neely video?
When I talk to other musicians about, yeah, I really appreciate the attention to detail they have for Whiplash. It's a very few minority that always go, well, what? No, it's only showing the bad parts about education world. No, always that Adam Neely video as a source. Super popular. The main thing I hate when people talk about this video, actually a lot of things. There's so many just fucking either weird or just straight wrong things about that video. For example, he said the movie was inaccurate because Fletcher said there's an out-of-tune player here instead of what he should have said, someone's out of tune. There are so many things like that. They're almost triple the amount of just bullshit critiques than there are good critiques. The biggest thing I do not like about that video is the way Adam Neely talks about abuse. What jazz enthusiasts like me want is Ratatouille, but for jazz. And that's what Adam Neely wants, but I wish he would just say it. There's this one part that really bothers me. Brings out an actual New York professor and does this point of, see, if kids nowadays were being abused in the jazz world, they would just leave. There is a lot of reasons why I hate that. Specifically because me and a lot of people in his comment section are going, no, Adam, this shit is real. That's the whole big problem. He's ignoring what makes this Whiplash situation, this abusive situation, so unique. And it ignores the objectively abusive standards in the music education world. Like, think about how many people, or people you know, have gotten hit or slapped during piano, violin lessons, or whatever the fuck. I think it's like 10% of music students have gotten physically abused. And I understand the sentiment that you want a jazz movie that shows how fun it is and awesome. This isn't unique to arts movie at all. I'm just gonna go ahead and name off the first like 5 movies I can think of that have to relate to arts or artists. We got Black Swan, I, Tonya, The Menu, Tar, that one Van Gogh movie. You know what all those movies share in common? They all show the dark sides of the arts. This isn't unique to jazz or music, okay?
I think Black Swan's an amazing horror film, and it's a fantasy. It's not a documentary about what it's like to be a dancer. It's not that interesting to watch the movie about the like happy, well-adjusted ballet dancer. It's important to remember that ballet dancers are world-class athletes, and in order to do that, like, you have to just like take care of yourself.
And plus, now we do got Ratatouille, but for jazz. A more honest review of Whiplash. This video, the Drumeo video of a jazz prodigy. Yes, there's things to critique about Whiplash for sure. Like the way he like fucking makes no sense. Lots of musicians relate to Whiplash a lot. And I think that's more powerful than just showing the lovey-dovey part of Whiplash.
Least but not last, Summit of the Gods. Summit of the Gods is about an aid climber, mixed climber, mountaineer guy who climbs mountains, and he is sad. Please watch this movie. For one, it is just a fucking beautiful movie. As a climber, this really feels like Josh's show and tell and what things he likes to do, but whatever. As a climber, I can appreciate the time they took to animate all the little knots and trinket he used to get up the mountain. The animation is pretty toned down and not super detailed, except when it comes to the gear he's using. Being able to see what exactly is stopping this dude from instant death just makes it so much more stressful. Trust me when I say that this movie gave me more of a rush than almost every single horror movie out there. There's this one part where I think he falls like 40 to 50 meters or so, in the process breaking his arm, and then he has to make a knot and use some emergency gear to help himself up with his mouth. It's just so cool, and he's just such a smart guy. What can I say? His competency just kind of makes my dick hard. So yeah, ending this video on like a happier note, watch this movie. It's really, really good. Am I forgetting anything? Where am I?